Our next case study takes us into the world of the travel services. We learn about the role of innovation in driving productivity. Joining us virtually is Mr. Arun Ashok, Area Manager for the Indian Subcontinent at Booking.com. Mr. Ashok will analyze how Booking.com has optimized user experiences and become a global leader in the travel industry. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Ashok.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Before I begin, I just want to check can you hear me clearly? All good? All right. So just before anything else, I wanted to thank the team at Advocata, Murtaza and Naomi, and the entire team for this opportunity to speak to everyone here. I just wish I was there in person instead of being stuck in a boring boardroom in Delhi. Sri Lanka is, very close to my heart. I'm actually originally from Kerala, and every time I travel to Sri Lanka, I get the sense like I'm coming back home. I never miss an opportunity. I should be there in February, and I hope to meet many of you in person as well. Just a quick introduction to myself. My name is Arun Ashok. I'm the area manager for Booking.com, managing the India subcontinent region, specifically markets like Sri Lanka, Maldives. There's a few micro markets in South India where we're seeing a lot of growth. Sri Lanka obviously is the market where we're seeing the most growth. It's where all of our attention is. So a lot of energy there. And a brief introduction to Booking.com as well, for those of you who are not aware. Booking.com is an online travel agency headquartered in Amsterdam. We're one of the largest OTAs in the world. We're part of the Booking Holdings company, which manages a couple of different OTAs like Booking, as well as Agoda, Kayak, a bunch of other firms in the travel industry. What I want to try and do over the next, let's say 20, 30 minutes is I've got a deck here, and the way we've structured it is, there's actually two parts to this. So the first part gives you a sense of how Booking.com generates demand. And the second bit is a little bit more on innovation and what we're doing in the space of AI. And the purpose of this entire session is, again, it's twofold. One is, obviously we have lots of our partners here. We'd like to give you a sense of what Booking.com does. But also for this to be a little bit of a learning opportunity, because there's a lot that we do here, which plays out at a very macro level, which if you're, 1,000 hotel global company is nothing new for you. But for a lot of our partners in Sri Lanka who are standalone hotels, bed and breakfast sort of operations, this could be really, really insightful. And it may help spark an idea in you on how you grow demand for yourself using multiple channels, how you leverage powerful tools like Gen AI. So that's sort of the purpose of why I'm doing this, and I hope that's the takeaway that you get out of this as well. So moving into our slides, how do we drive demand? Essentially, this is a big part of the value that we add for our partners. We work with hotels, with all sorts of accommodation suppliers. So it could be hotels, it could be apartments, it could be cruises, boats. We have, I think, close to 30 or 40 different categories of accommodations that we work with around the world. And the value here that we offer is, as Booking.com being a global travel company, we can drive demand from you from multiple markets around the world. So, if you suddenly see a spike in demand, from, let's say, from Brazil coming into Sri Lanka, and you want to tap into that, one opportunity that you have is obviously to go out there and spend a lot of marketing dollars and try and reach out to those customers in Brazil. Or a much more efficient and a quicker route of that is working with a partner like Booking.com, who already has a fairly large database in key travel source markets like that, and leverage us to actually drive demand to you. So how do we do it? What is the secret sauce? So before I get into that, I wanted to also lay out the context a little bit. What is the environment that we are operating in? And this changes constantly. It's a very interesting slide that we had actually gotten from an external source. And if you look at it, there's three stacks of columns on the left, which are all dropping in significance. So print, radio, and TV, which were, so far the best channels for the widest reach that you have all been dropping, with TV being a massive drop. Whereas the channels on the right, online video and social media, are constantly spiking. Average duration is almost 2.5 hours a day. These are global numbers. And, if I could, I'm not there, but I'd love for you, show of hands, who, thinks is on their phone for over 2.5 hours a day. I can't see everyone there, but if you look around, you'd probably see quite a few hands up. I myself, and I've checked this on my phone, I'm at about 4.5 hours on average. So the idea here is that we need to put our focus on wherever our customers' attention is at. And our customers' attention is on their phones. There are apps that deliver online video, apps that deliver social media. And within social media itself as well, there's a little bit of a split. So short form social media through apps like TikTok tend to be growing a lot faster, whereas long form or more text-based social media tends to grow a little bit slower. Again, these have a lot of these follow generational trends. So when you look at younger audiences, these trends tend to be a lot sharper. And as we go along, we need to actually spend more and more of our ad dollars in these sectors. Another interesting point about social media is it's not just surfing. It's now actually it's actually moved into search. So this is a little bit of a analysis that we've done again through GWI, where we looked at search engines and social media and analyzed where does Gen Z search. So if I asked you, where do you want to, which hotel do you want to stay in during your next visit to London? You may go to Google and search. Gen Z goes into TikTok or goes to YouTube and searches there. So it's not just the platform, but it's also the user behavior that keeps changing. So I hope what this sparks in your mind is, when you think about where you spend your next ad dollar, you think about this slide, and then you realize that if that's the target audience that you're looking at, then this is where you need to be spending your money. Millennials are not far behind, and Gen X is still very much a search engine sort of an audience. So the takeaway from this is, consumer behaviors are shifting, and we obviously as marketers need to shift with that. So again, the next slide that I'm going to show is if there are many marketers in the audience, this is probably not something new. But for the non-marketers, this is how we look at a full funnel multi-channel strategy to capture demand. So a marketing funnel generally is sort of, we look at low intent, medium intent, and high intent, which means low intent of purchase, where you're just making them aware of your brand. A medium intent is where they moved on from brand awareness to actually considering you when they're planning their next visit. So there's a little bit of top of mind brand awareness there already. And high intent is literally at the moment when they make their purchase. Are you visible? Are you easily accessible? Do you make it easy for them to purchase? So there's a lot of focus that you need to pay at each one of these levels. And over the next few slides, I hope to explain to you how Booking.com looks at these different stages of this marketing funnel. So at the very, very high level, low intent stage, what we try and do is we create brand awareness. We try to create perceptions on what Booking.com is, what our values are, who you are as a customer of Booking.com or as a member of Booking.com. If you're a Booking.com traveler, what does that say about you? And we do this in multiple ways. We work with lots of Hollywood, Bollywood, and local celebrities around the world. So the campaigns below, featuring Tina Fey, Idris Elba, these are all from the last couple of years. We have a very exciting new ambassador coming in 2025. I'm not at liberty to share this at this point, but you'll see this come up on either on your YouTube feed or on the TV ad spots and things like that. But it's critical that we actually identify who our target market is and then look at celebrities or ambassadors who resonate with those folks. And once we bring them on board, actually deliver that content in a really impactful way. So it's not just having a pretty face on a billboard, but what is the message that goes out through them? The media space is cluttered, not just OTAs, but offline travel agencies, hotel companies, airline companies. There are so many little sub-industries within the travel industry who are all vying for the same travel attention. So how does Booking.com stand out? And that's essentially by creating this sort of a clutter-busting creatives. And once we have that creative, the next step really is, how do we actually deliver this, right? So it's not just, just get Tina Fey, pay her millions of dollars and shoot a TV commercial, and that's the end of it. No, we then have to get a sense of, and this goes back to an earlier point I was making around where the audience's attention is. And if you look at this, the audience's attention, like we discussed, is a lot of it is derived through their phone. So we need to make sure that even though we have top of mind brand awareness, we need to be within the audience's consideration set at any given time. So now, if that means on their phones, on social media, then that's where we go. If it means on the App Store, then essentially what Booking.com here has done is we've built the world's most downloaded travel app with over 75 million downloads around the world. More than 50% of our bookings are actually made through our app, which is hugely important to us because obviously, it drives down our customer acquisition cost, but also it makes it very sticky. We don't intend for the app to be just a conversion tool, but it's actually an engagement tool. So there's a lot of content that goes into the app to ensure that our users are visiting us constantly, even during the research and consideration stage. A more recent and really interesting strategic partnership that we undertook recently was with Mercedes. So if you're driving down the coastline and you want to stop off at a hotel nearby, there is a Booking.com app within the Mercedes ecosystem. Obviously, you park the car first, but then Booking.com would actually help you find the hotel that exactly fits your requirements from the comfort of your car without even having to switch to your phone. So again, it's an example of how we look at where our customers' attention is and make sure that we are actually present there. The other, and this is a very, very critical point that that I would encourage you to consider is you need to make sure that all of your media and your content is customized for each of these different channels. And what I mean by that is not just the screen size and not just resolution, but also the format. If you're doing a TV ad spot, you've got, let's say half a minute, and you can actually tell the story in a certain way. Whereas if you're on an Instagram reel ad, you need to deliver the message a lot quicker. Otherwise, you lose the audience attention immediately. So it's not just enough to build this content, but you need to customize it for every single delivery mechanism that you're engaging with your travelers. And finally, we come to high intent. High intent is, obviously where a lot of money gets spent. This is where conversion happens, and this is, I think, where most of our focus and attention goes. But please keep in mind that without low intent and medium intent growth, you will never be able to convert at high intent. Or if you do, you will be converting at a very, very high cost because you need to build a certain level of brand confidence and a relationship with the customer for them to actually come and convert with high intent. And even once they convert with high intent, you need to ensure that they actually come back to you and you don't actually spend on acquiring that customer every single time. A lot of travel companies generally tend to just about break even on their first purchase, purchase from one of their customers. But the money that gets made is actually then generated on the second purchase, or the third purchase, or the fourth purchase. Because what happens is that you build a sticky product that the customer comes back to you, and you don't need to keep spending on platforms like Meta and Google to actually acquire those customers again and again. That being said, this is obviously a very, very critical channel, and we have entire teams dedicated to this. And again, the beauty of Booking here, I guess, is in the scale at which we operate. So we have 200 million unique landing pages across, I think, if I remember last, about 45 different languages around the world. over 1 billion Google search keywords that we are constantly optimizing on. So a lot of this goes into why we are able to drive demand better than pretty much anybody else out there. Because we have entire teams that are so integrated with, with the likes of Google and Meta now. But like we discussed earlier, right, this model itself is being disrupted at this point. Search has moved to social media, and then even from social media now further to generative AI. So the space keeps changing, and we have to keep innovating with that. So our current opportunity is how do we leverage generative AI models to be able to deliver the right sort of content and deliver the right listings to our partners when they're actually searching for that. So this goes a little bit more detail into performance marketing. I'm not going to go into as much detail on this, but it gives you a sense of, basically the three big levers, which us and pretty much every other online travel company operates in. And if you're serious about improving the online presence of your hotels, this would definitely be one to consider. On the left top side, you can see meta price comparison. So this is essentially Google Hotel Ads, which is a Google product, and you invest in that, and they pull up your hotel ads every time someone searches for either the keyword of your hotel name or the location. Below that is this pay-per-click, so paid search, which is just like a model where you bid on keywords and then your ad pops up. And on the right, in my opinion, is actually the most interesting part, which is SEO, which is unpaid search, right? So you're not paying for every single time your page comes up in a Google search, but you optimize your landing page in a way that Google automatically pulls it up as the best fit, as the best answer for any sort of a search that users do. And again, this is the area that we need to invest in to be able to get better and better at driving results when someone searches on any generative AI tool about, let's say I'm traveling to Colombo, which is the best hotel I should be staying at. Even more important, because if you look at a Google search, you still have at least, you have like 100 pages of search results that come out. So even if you don't do such a great job, you may end up at page 2 or right at the bottom of page 1, but you're still there. You'll get a few hits, whereas with a ChatGPT search, you won't even get that. If someone asks, where should I stay in Colombo, or which is the best hotel to stay in Colombo, it'll give one particular result. If you ask for 5 best hotels in Colombo, it'll give you 5 results. And you need to actually optimize your landing pages so that the ChatGPT machine learning actually thinks that this is the best solution for that particular customer's needs. So this is where a lot of our focus goes. A lot of our ad dollars are spent here, but we're constantly optimizing in this space. So that gives you a little bit of a sense of the full funnel strategy that we employ. If you look at what we do after conversion, right, and this is a point I touched upon earlier, it's you spend a lot of money acquiring customers. Booking does, every travel company does, and if you're acquiring customers online, then you would be as well. But how do you actually retain the customers? Because the magic is in retaining the customers and ensuring you don't pay for every single acquisition. At Booking.com, our solution for this is Genius, which I'm hoping many of you are aware of. Genius is our loyalty program, and the benefits of Genius is incredible, both for our partners as well as our travelers. If you look at, and when you have a partner who comes on board as a Genius member, so essentially what we offer our Genius customers is discounts and different value adds at our Genius partner hotels. So if you are a Genius partner hotel, we essentially offer you almost a 70% jump in search result views, 45% more bookings, and 40% more revenue. So this is an immediate jump for you. You immediately get pushed up in terms of rankings. Our customers trust Genius hotel partners more. So even if you're not the number one hit, if our customers see the listing with the Genius tag on it, they trust it that much more, and there's a much higher chance they'll actually go in and transact. And from a traveler perspective, they spend 15% more when they book. So if you have a genius traveler coming into your hotel, they tend to spend more than any average customer, on things like dinners and wine and spas and all of that. They also book 2 times further in advance, which is super helpful. For the hoteliers in this audience, you know how important lead time is for our revenue management strategies. And if I offer you a customer who's booking 2 times further in advance, then that's gold to you. And Genius Travelers also leave 29% more reviews. Reviews in our industry is critical. It can make or break the hotel operation. And so this is it's a big advantage that you get when you have a Genius customer coming in. So this is essentially how we retain. I'm trying to give you a sense of our playbook of how we retain our partners with the dual purpose of educating you about Booking.com, but also hoping that this sparks a little bit of a thought in you on how you would retain customers at your businesses, whether it's in the hospitality industry or outside. Moving along, I think I'm doing okay on time. So this is the second segment that we wanted to cover, which is around innovations. So how do we stay ahead? Where is Booking.com investing in terms of innovations? I've already obviously given you a little bit of a hint. So generative AI is right up there. But apart from that, what are the other buckets? So what you need to essentially keep in mind is, Booking.com is a two-sided platform. So we have travelers on one side, partners on the other side, and we need to constantly innovate on both sides. I constantly get a question around, which is the more important side of the platform, and the answer here is there is no real more important side. Without the travelers, there are no partners, and without the partners, there are no travelers. So we need to ensure that there is a value offering on both sides of this platform. And we constantly innovate on both sides of this platform to ensure that they keep coming back for more. So I guess I can bucket our recent focus into 3 different sections. The first section, and this is critical for us, is around regulatory compliance. Like I said, we are an EU-based company, and there's obviously lots of laws and lots of regulations. EU tends to be a lot more regulated than markets globally, which is a double-edged sword. Obviously, that means a lot more work for us. But the advantage here is then we can offer our partners and our customers the most secure platform to research their travel in, to transact in as well. So these DSA, DMA, and DAC 7 are very, very recent EU regulations as of last year, which is being put in place for those of you who don't know, and this is a special focus for our travel and hospitality partners. These are essentially steps that you need to take to ensure that European customers can continue booking your hotels. If you're not compliant with all of these regulations, but at varying stages during the year, you will be blacked out and you will not be visible to European customers anymore. So this is something that we've been doing a lot of work in to build, to educate our partners on the importance of actually being compliant. And to actually build tools to help you track this, to make the process as easy as possible, to be compliant, upload the right documents, ensure that you've got all the right practices in place. And that's essentially, it's a lot more work than you would expect, than I'd expected at least. But it's well worth it. So if you're already working with Booking.com, I'd encourage you to go in and complete this. And even if you're not working with Booking.com, I'd encourage you to research these regulations because they're critical. There's a lot of European travel corridor to Sri Lanka, and it's critical that we keep that corridor going across all our partners. The second bucket that we have is the connected trip, which is a really interesting project that Booking.com has been running, which is essentially how do we integrate multiple travel products, right from flights to hotels to rides to attractions, and make it a one seamless sort of a journey. It sounds a lot easier than it actually is. One would assume that, we already have all of this product in place. How difficult could it be to actually stitch them all together? But it is quite difficult. where it really starts adding value for our customers is, as travel is a segment which keeps there's lots of movement. You could miss your flight, your car may arrive late, your hotel may not have your room ready at check-in time. So whenever something like this happens, it has knock-on effects throughout your journey. And the vision with Connected Trip is that Booking.com supports you through that. So if your flight gets delayed, and you have a connected trip, so your car, your hotel, everything is booked with us, then we would have the opportunity to inform the car that you'd arrive late. We'd have the opportunity to inform the hotel that you'd arrive late, and you'd actually be able to make all of those adjustments. So there's a lot of value to be added here. Obviously, from a customer point of view, there's also the focus on having a seamless experience. So travel is a fairly broken experience right now, where you have, I think I remember reading a research paper that said users on average research their holiday over 30 or 40 different platforms, and transact on a completely different platform, and then you book your flights from one place, your hotel from somewhere else, just because of maybe you're getting better costing somewhere, maybe you're more comfortable with the experience somewhere else. And our hope is that we're able to build a connected trip in a way that all of this sits in one platform for you, and you're able to actually almost move seamlessly from one stage of travel purchase to travel anticipation to the actual travel itself. So that's the vision of Connected Trip. And the last one is leveraging Gen AI. And this is the one that I'll probably focus a little bit more on, and I'm sure something that you're also most interested in. So, three big advancements. One of them, and it's interesting because I think Gen AI is something that's caught all our attention and fancy since late 2023. And you'd assume it's a fairly new thing. But you'd be surprised to know that we've actually been using AI and machine learning models since over 10 years. There's obviously nuances between exactly what generative AI is and what a machine learning model is. But for over 10 years now, we've been using AI to understand customer intent, to slice and dice our user base and understand exactly at what stage of the conversion funnel they are, and how do we customize our platform, our marketing messages to actually suit that person at that particular stage. If we identify a certain customer as a family versus a certain customer who's a solo business traveler, how do we ensure that our search engine recommendation pulls up the right sort of content and the right product that suits the family versus the solo traveler businessman. So this is not new. It's been going on for over 10 years. What is relatively more new is content enhancement. But this again, we've been doing for, over 3 to 4 years, which is how do we use AI to enhance the content on the website. And this is, again, for partners of ours who are already listed on Booking.com, you know this, that all of the hotel descriptions, the route descriptions, all of this at this point, since the last 2 or 3 years, has been AI generated. So we take all of the content that our partners share with us, and our machine learning models know exactly how to structure the sentences, what key value adds to highlight that appeals to the target audience for that particular hotel. So that's how we leverage machine learning to enhance content. But again, not brand new. It's been there for a bit. What is brand new and what is brand new and what's most recent is actually the human-like interaction, right? And that's where generative AI really comes in and brings all its power to fore, which is how do you have conversational user experiences? And this goes across the traveler journey, where we're inputting and actually I'll jump to the next slide because that gives you a little bit more sense of what we mean by inputting Gen AI in every single stage of the traveler journey. So starts with the AI trip planner. And again, some of this is not released yet. We have it as an employee. I have it on my Booking.com app. So if you ever meet me in the coming months, please ask me, and I'd love to show you how this works. But essentially, you can type out exactly what kind of a hotel you want. And I don't mean using filters. I mean, in a conversational sense, you can say hotels with a great gym, vegan breakfast options, and a canal views from the room. And the machine learning model pulls it up. Then this creates smart filters. It has personalized search results, and it's a far better experience of pulling out exactly the kind of hotel. Think about it almost as if you were having a conversation with your offline travel agent who you've been dealing with, 20, 30 years. You're having a conversation with the agent and with the AI agent in this case, and it pulls up exactly the hotel that you want. We also train our AI models on a lot of our reviews. So this is our secret weapon, right? Which is that we have millions of guest reviews, which are long form text heavy reviews. And the AI actually crawls through all of this to give you the best sort of a response. So you may not mention that your hotel is dog friendly, but if you have enough customers who've mentioned that your hotel is dog friendly in their reviews, and there's lots of great descriptions of that, and someone searches for a dog friendly hotel on booking.com, it will pop up your hotel because it has crawled through those reviews. And trip planning hub is, again, this goes back to the overall trip planner vision that we have around how we stitch together multiple different elements like flights, hotels, etc., etc. So if you actually do make all of these purchases, the AI agent then actually helps you stitch together all of this. It recommends the ideal flight to catch based on the hotel's checkout time. That's just an example, but there's lots of other applications of something like that. It helps you manage your trip. So if there's any changes that you need to make while you're in transit, gone are the days where you had to call someone, or you had to go into FAQs or help desk. You just go in and message your AI agent, and it essentially solves this for you. What all of this that I just described is not some vision. Sure. So that's pretty much everything that I had here. Thank you for your time. I'd love to take any questions if there are any.
Thank you, Mr. Ashok, for sharing this very insightful presentation. On a personal note, I'm a very big fan of Booking.com.
Glad to hear it.
We will now be moving on to our next Q&A session, led by our moderator, Anushka.
Thank you, Subi. So thank you, Mr. Arun, for sharing all these insights about Booking.com. Let's dive right into the Q&A. Yes, Mr. Mustasa has a question right away. Could we hand over the mic to the front, please? Yeah, I'll get you, everyone. Sure.
There's a little bit of an echo, so I'm not sure if I'll be able to hear you very clearly. I'd request the person on the stage to actually just echo the question.
Arun, Murtaza here. I know in our conversation you said that you are a public company, so you have to be careful with the data. The last time I looked at your platform, you had about 10,000 listings in Sri Lanka. About 6 to 7 years ago, it was about 4,000. So there seems to have been a significant growth, and it seems to have happened in what is referred to as a long tail. There was a time 6, 7 years ago where about 50% of the room inventory were establishments that had less than 20 rooms. Can you give us a bit of color as to how and where this expansion is happening, the type of partners that you're onboarding, and whether you are opening new markets? The second part of my question is that the media headlines is Sri Lanka is having an exceptionally good tourism season. As you know, our season ends in March because this is the Northern Hemisphere winter, which traditionally were the source markets. Can you give us some insights of what your platform is telling about the type of visitors that are coming to Sri Lanka, and any details about their backgrounds and the source markets they're coming from, any kind of insights, because this conference is about igniting growth. And tourism is the real sunrise industry of Sri Lanka. So any kind of insights that you can share with us is very helpful.
Sure. Thank you for the question. Yeah, it's you're right. The growth in our supply, what we call listings on Booking.com, has been incredible over the past couple of years. And you're right. We haven't. It's not like you've got that many new hotels being developed. So we've actually gone into a little bit of a detail on this. And what's really interesting is the long tail of accommodation supply that's been coming on board. So more and more. And I credit organizations like you for educating people about this because we have a lot of single unit accommodation operators. So these could be bed and breakfast type places, villas, and across the price spectrum. So we've got your budget hostels all the way up to your luxury villas, which are commanding rates of $1,000, $2,000 a night coming on board. So it's great because and this is again not concentrated in your typical the top couple of 3-4 destinations, but again it's across the coast. It's across destinations that were so far not super familiar. And again, it's just a matter of education. So we've got a lot of businessmen in Sri Lanka. We've got a lot of families in Sri Lanka who have educated themselves on how they can actually operate their own business by leveraging platforms like Booking.com. But also, on their own, I've seen single unit accommodation suppliers build their own websites or have their own Instagram handles to drive demand on their own. And it's very, very encouraging because that means that they're thinking in the right direction, right? And when they operate like that, demand is sure to come. And once other folks actually see that, it becomes a little bit of a virtuous cycle. So that's something that we're very encouraged about. So this is, for 2025 at least, we're looking at homes and villas as a big opportunity of growth for us, not just from a supply point of view, but also what else can we do with them to optimize the business, right? So if you're already listed on Booking.com, how can we ensure that you can increase your average daily rates, that we can ensure that you have higher paying customers actually coming and staying at your property, and essentially improve your gross margins as a result of that. So that's a big focus for us. Over the next couple of months, actually, no, again, this is a little bit more of a broader trend. And again, not just Sri Lanka, but I'd say for almost all of Asia, what we're seeing is a little bit of a Europeanization of the Asian travel markets. And what I mean by that is Europe has historically been a market where a lot of the travel tends to be within Europe. So it's all intra-regional. So folks from UK will travel to Spain, folks from Italy will travel to France. There is a little bit to US and Asia and Middle East and all of that, but the giant chunk of it sits within the continent. In Asia, that was not the case. Until very recently, a giant chunk of our travel would actually be towards Europe, would be towards US, towards the Middle East. But since 2024, we've actually seen a little bit of a shift here. And we're seeing the corridors like Australia to Sri Lanka, corridors like Singapore and Japan to India have been seeing the highest year-on-year growth rates. So we are betting big on intra-regional APAC travel. And that's where I see a lot of boost for Sri Lanka as well. Obviously, it helps that Sri Lanka is constantly being listed as the hottest destination to visit. Everyone from Condé Nast to Vogue to BBC have you guys on the top 10 list. So I'm sure you'll see that growth coming from across Europe and US. But I would be very surprised if it can match the growth rates that you'd see from key source markets in the APAC itself, India included. So there's a lot of opportunity there, and if you're able to structure your rates in a way that you're making it favorable for APAC travelers to visit your hotels, or in a way that you're actually able to improve flight connectivity to key source markets like Singapore and Japan as well, then that will deliver multiple dividends to the economy as a whole, but also if you're an independent hotelier, definitely some potential there.
Thank you, Mr. Arun. Let me ask a question that popped up on the Slido, and then let's get to the floor. Mr. Arun, what are the specific marketing strategies that Booking.com does to attract tourists to less popular destinations in Sri Lanka, and how do these strategies benefit the local economy?
Sure. So yeah, that's an interesting question. There's actually, and again, I'd go back to the the marketing funnel approach that we have, right? There is at the very beginning, and again, I guess I spoke about the marketing funnel more from a Booking.com point of view. But if we did the same thing for a Sri Lanka destination point of view, right? The first step is creating a visibility and awareness of these destinations. And I mean, I'm answering this question specifically for Sri Lankan destination, but honestly, it applies to any niche destination around the world. You identify what is unique about that destination, and you create content around that. So we have an entire media team that actually goes in and does this, which develops a lot of engaging content. There's photographs, videos, long form that gets displayed via social media, via multiple channels. I already shared some of the TV ad spots that we do, which is going to the hundreds of millions of dollars. But engaging, short form social media content and influencers has been a big approach. Obviously, someone like a Hollywood celebrity is more of a brand ambassador, but getting influencers and niche influencers. Honestly, in my experience, what I've realized is, engaging 100 niche influencers with 1,000 followers each is far, far more impactful than engaging one big influencer who has 100,000 followers, right? Because the quality of engagement is that much better. It virtually comes cost-free. So there is an opportunity there, and that's something that we actually engage in a big way. We run lots of PR campaigns where we actually create these familiarization trips for journalists, for content creators and influencers to experience our hotel partners and the destination itself, which builds a little bit of category awareness. And once you build awareness, then it's just a question of machine learning models understanding who is that customer who's at that right price point to convert. If you're an up and coming surf destination on the east coast of Sri Lanka, do we have a subset of audience that actually fits within that cohort? And then how do we actually target that cohort with, and this could be, whenever they come on Booking.com, we try and make sure that those listings go on top, but we also do retargeting. So we build a custom audience based on that cohort, and we target them on multiple other affiliate channels. If they're on CNN.com, we'd ensure that, we keep retargeting them and remind them of this incredible destination that's just waiting for them. So that sort of forms the mid segment of the funnel. And at the end of the day, nothing beats PPC. So as long as you're there at the moment when they are ready to convert, the customer's yours. So this is essentially what we do to try and drive awareness for niche destinations. Focus on what you're good at. Don't try to be, the next Bentota or the next Gaul. Focus on what is incredible and special about that particular destination, and you will have folks coming in. I can guarantee that.
Thank you, Mr. Arun. I'm sure there's a lot of information to be gathered from that answer. Well, Sri Lanka is well known for its historic sites, its culture, its mixed culture, and the great places it has to visit. So I'm sure we can use all of this to promote the less popular locations and bring it to the top, because tourism is one of our key strengths. Yeah, we have a question from the audience at the back.
I'm a budget traveler and I use Booking.com frequently. And this is a burning question. Are you using customers up front to vet the new arrivals? So the customers are guinea pigs and you get their feedback, and then that's how your audit is conducted. Is that your strategy?
I wouldn't term it as guinea pigs, that's for sure. No, so essentially what we do is we have, we have a fairly large funnel that drives a lot of new customers. And this is where a lot of our focus is on, right? Because as much as we'd like to, build loyalty and create a sticky product that keeps people coming back again and again, the platform is bound to decay if we don't keep the audience vibrant and fresh and new. And that is entirely dependent on bringing in new customers. So a lot of what we do is actually catering to ensure that you have, as a new customer to Booking.com, the best experience possible. Now, when you visit Booking.com as a new customer, obviously there's multiple filters that you look at. A lot of it tends to be also based on earlier reviews from our older customers. Right? I think if I remember correctly, there's something like an 80% correlation. So if a hotel has an 8.0 review rating or higher from our existing customers, that hotel has the highest chance of conversion with our new customers. So in a way, I'd actually flip it to say that our new customers are maybe the least experimentative of all our customers, and they would be the ones who would actually pick hotels that have already been tried and tested. Obviously, there are exceptions to this case. If you have a new hotel that's come up, which has some really interesting, creatives and photographs, and maybe it's gone viral on Instagram or something like that, that could actually work well with new customers as well. But otherwise, if you're an existing hotelier, you would almost always have customers coming in from our existing base. New customers generally tend to go with the tried and tested route.
Thank you, Mr. Arun. We had a question from, could we hand the mic over to the gentleman at the front? Yes, this will be our last question, unfortunately, because we're tight on time.
Tourism imposes costs on cities, regions, and so on. I mean, you have to do garbage collection, you have to do lots of things. So it's customary that there are various kinds of taxes that are collected from tourists or from tourist establishments in order to fund this. Otherwise, the residents will be paying for all this stuff. So that is what the government's concern is. Now, the traditional hoteliers, the old-style hoteliers, they pay all kinds of taxes, and they contribute to this. They have special tourist levies and so on. And there's a concern that there's a problem in the marketplace where people coming on Booking.com are getting a free ride. Do you have any solutions to these two problems? One is paying for the externalities, and the second is addressing the competitive problems in the market.
Sure. Thank you for the question, sir. So I'll be honest, being an EU-based company, following the regulations of the local laws and land is absolute prime concern for us. It's what we call a must-do. Everything else takes second place, but the first step is, follow the laws of the land. And every market that we operate in, which is close to about 150 different countries around the world, we ensure that we are set up in a way that is consistent with the laws of the land, which means we pay the taxes that we need to pay. We ensure that our partners pay the taxes that they need to pay. A really interesting example is actually coming from a neighboring country, which is Maldives, which recently changed its GST and environment fee laws. So instead of, if I remember correctly, it went up from 16 to 17%. And overnight, we had to make these changes. Interestingly, it was also applicable retrospectively. So we had to actually apply to all bookings that had already happened even before. And we chose to go in and do it. A lot of that hit was taken by us. We had to block supply and ensure that all our partners were set up with the right tax structure to reflect the changes that were made by the government. And if we had a partner that didn't follow that particular tax structure, we'd blacklist them. So we make every effort to ensure that both our partners as well as we ourselves are aligned with the laws of the land, which obviously includes tax regulations, and we ensure that we pay our fair share of taxes because we believe that that is critical to the way the country develops and the way the economy is built over time.
Thank you, Mr. Arun. So that'll be the end of our Q&A. For any questions that went unanswered, please feel free to scan the QR and slide in your questions there. We'll try our best to get the answers to you as soon as possible. Feel free to put any question that you want. Try to make it direct and relevant. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Arun.
Thank you for your time. I hope to meet some of you in February when I'm there. I've asked Murtaza sir to help me with that. So but thank you for your time and thank you for your attention.
Thank
See
you, Mr. Arun.
Thank you, Mr. Arun, for sharing how Booking.com continues to innovate and lead the travel sector. Before we proceed, a quick reminder for all speakers, participants, and media personnel. A power station is available at the back of the room for anyone who needs it, so please feel free to use it. We will now take a short break.